studies of the human brain have reinforced the fact that there are two reactions to an external threat, one conscious and the other unconscious. One set of signals flows along a pathway to the neocortex, the frontal lobe of our brains, our center of rational thought. A second signal travels even faster along a pathway to our subconscious and the amygdala. Because it arrives more quickly, this area triggers our first response. It can actually hijack any rational response, sending us off in either a fight, flight, or freeze mode. When this happens, the blood rushes from our brain to our extremities, where it will be needed. That's why it's difficult for people in an emotional state of mind to reason properly. They have no blood in their brain for thinking. The cycles of perception show the progression of conflict through conciliation. Conflict begins in the red zone. High emotion cycles through this zone until something changes. Depending on what happens during a conversation, parties will remain in conflict or be triggered to move into the green zone, the conciliatory zone.
Whatever is said or done acts as a bit of a trigger to do one of two things. Either the person receiving the information from the trigger perceives that there's a threat and they get angry and they respond or react in a certain way it's a reflex that they have. We call them fight, flight, or freeze, right? And whatever they do, fight, flight, or freeze, that becomes a trigger, which is a perception of threat and anger, and then fight, flight, or freeze again. And so there's this cycle, a retaliatory cycle going on. The other option, besides fight, flight, or freeze, is to go into dialogue and to stay in dialogue. And when you do that, the trigger changes. And the perception is no longer threat, but connection. Now I'm beginning to feel like you and I are together in something. When that happens, the response is that feeling of belonging or being part of something. And the reflex changes from fight, flight, or freeze to what we're referring to as release, relax, relate. So now there's a connection. And when that happens, physiologically people do, they relax, right? They see the vulnerability in the other person, and it allows them to relax and to bring down their walls, if you like. And so once you have your release, relax, and relate thing going on, people behave in a way that triggers another release, relax, and relate on the other side. Now you have a different cycle going on. You have a cycle that's building the relationship rather than tearing it down. So now you're moving towards a resolution that is mutual, shared, balanced, and that means a better future for the relationship and for the parties.